Hello, welcome back to the Poker Channel. As I'm sure you guys have already noticed, I am not in California. I'm currently in Southeast Michigan, visiting some family and friends. And as a degenerate gambler, as I'm sure many of you can relate, one of the first things I did when I knew I was gonna go on vacation was I looked to see if there were any nearby casinos or poker rooms that I could go to. Because who really wants to hang out with their family for 6 straight days or whatever it is. So as it turns out, it looks like there is a pretty decent place. Poker room about 15 minutes away. I think they have 1-3 and 2-3 tables. I'm not 100% sure, but let's go check it out. There are a lot of so-called charity poker rooms across the state of Michigan. The way they operate, without needing to be licensed and regulated like a regular casino, is every day they select a new charity to donate to. That charity then receives a percentage, I think about 25%, of all the rake the room makes that day, and the poker room can only sell up to $20,000 worth of chips per day. So games can end up breaking early, but still, it's a pretty cool idea that allows a lot of people across the state the opportunity to play some poker. This particular poker room is actually located in the corner of a bowling alley. During the day, only about one table runs, but at night it fills up quickly. I get seated shortly after 6:30 p.m. and buy in for $300, which is the max. The blinds are 1-2 with optional straddles from under the gun or the button. First hand of note, I pick up Jack 10 off in the cutoff. The old man in the low jack opens to $7, a young fish in the hijack calls, and for some reason I call too. The flop comes 9-6-5 with a flush draw. I don't have much going on for my hand except some backdoors. The low jack bets, but only for $7, so when the hijack calls, my brain automatically conveys the pot odds signal to my fingers, and they obey. I call. Turn is the 10 of diamonds. I don't turn a flush or a straight draw, but now I have a pretty decent top pair. The low jack bets again, but again for a very small size, this time $15 into a pot over $40. The hijack seems on the fence, but after a few moments thinking, he flicks in a call. I'm almost 100% sure I haven't beat. But what about the low jack? He's now bet twice into 2 people on a medium, somewhat connected board. Would he really do that with ace-king or even the nut flush draw? Does he just always have an overpair here? Given my read that villain is more of the nitty OMC type, I think the latter is much more likely. Unfortunately, my brain short circuits right at this critical moment, and I raise to $45. This is not a thing. Even my sizing is terrible. The low jack quickly calls, and the hijack tanks and then calls as well. Oops. If I wasn't drawing dead already, the river does away with any doubts, as the dealer puts out the king of hearts. The low jack checks, the hijack checks, and I quickly check back. The low jack shows pocket queens, and the hijack turns over king jack for the win. I sheepishly slide my cards face down into the muck and try to forget about this hand as fast as possible. Every dealer change, they do a PLO bomb pot. Here you see me trying to show my cards to the camera, but epically failing. Luckily, this hand wasn't worth talking about anyway. I don't have to wait long before I get dealt a premium. Pocket 10's in early position. There's a button straddle on this hand to $10, and I make it $20. This is probably terrible, but I've never played with a button straddle before, so I have no idea how to react to it. It folds to the cutoff, and he cuts out raising chips, making it $55. It folds back to me, and already I hate this spot, but the pot odds are insane, and he could just have ace-king, so I call. The flop is 8-7-3. I check, and villain bombs it for $90. I don't know what the right play is here in theory, but my opponent is old and white, so I just fold right away, and move on to the next hand. In this one, I'm in the big blind with ace-deuce of diamonds. Early position limps, the cutoff raises to $10, the button and small blind call, I call, and early position limper calls. The flop is 6 of diamonds, jack of hearts, 5 of diamonds, giving us the nut flush draw. I check, the early position player now goes all in for last $50 or so, and the cutoff calls. It folds to me, and I think my decision is pretty clear. I have only $200 in my stack at this point, so calling and having to play out of position on the turn with only one pot-sized bet left seems pretty bad. So I fold. Just kidding, I shove, and the cutoff calls pretty quickly. At this point, I'm just hoping and praying for a diamond. The turn comes, no help, the 5 of clubs. And the river card is red, but it's a heart. But wait, it's the ace of hearts. I get there, not in the way I expected, and end up beating the short stacks Jack 10 and the cutoffs King 10. Skill game, am I right? Well, that's it. Played a really quick session, just under an hour. Didn't get to record many hands, but the main ones were I had pocket 10s, called a 3-bet pre-flop, and then folded after the flop. I lost maybe 60 or 70 on that hand, and then the biggest pot was a 3-way pot where I had the nut flush draw, and I ended up rivering top pair. So that was pretty nice, and that got me unstuck. So I was in for 400 and out for 475. So booked a small win in just under an hour of play. Game was pretty good. I wish I could have stayed and played longer, but I have to go. So hopefully I'll be playing poker again soon and we can go to the next location. On our way back home, we make a brief stop in Omaha, Nebraska to visit some friends. After spending the day at the zoo and the disc golf course, as night falls, we hit the casino to play some poker. I get seated a little after 9 p.m. The game here is 1-3 and I buy in for $300. Very first hand I'm dealt, I look down at pocket 8s for middle position. I open $10 and get 3 callers, cutoff, button, and big blind. The flop comes down, Jack 10-8, 2 diamonds. I smash middle set. Is poker really this easy? I bet $20 and both the cutoff and button call. Much to my chagrin, however, the turn comes the 9 of clubs, putting 4 to a straight on board. I debate betting small, but multi-way out of position I think checking makes the most sense. So I check, and the cutoff checks, but now the button bets $70. I'm getting a little over 2-1 on a call, and I know I have about 10 outs, so I need 4-1. But I have another $200 behind if I call, and so if I butt up on the river, I think I can lead jam and get called by a straight. So really, with implied odds, I'm getting close to 4-1. I call. The river, unfortunately, does not pair the board as it comes the 3 of spades. I check, and when he bets $100, I reluctantly fold. So much for my hot start. I'm a little steamed up and bored, and I haven't won a hand yet. So when I look down at 8-5 offsuit in the cutoff, it might as well be aces for me. There's a limp from middle position and I raise to $20. The button and limper call and we head to a flop. 7-7-9, 2 hearts. I have a gut shot, straight draw, and 8 high, so when it checks to me, I take a stab for $40. Both opponents fold quickly, and I get to rake in my first pot of the night with a somewhat suspect hand. A little while later, I pick up King 3 suited in the hijack and open to $10. The button, small blind, and big blind all call. The flop comes Ace 9-9, 2 clubs, giving me the nut flush draw. I bet $25 and only the button calls. The turn is the deuce of spades, introducing another flush draw. I think I still have a pretty solid range advantage at this point, even though Villain probably has more 9x than me. I don't like check calling or check folding, so I decide to keep up the aggression and fire a second barrel. I look over at my opponent's stack, and it looks like he has about 100 or 150. The pot is $90, so I elect to go with an overbet jam. Villain thinks for a while, and then folds. It's only as I'm raking the pot in that I realize he actually had $200, just like I did. So my jam was for over 2x the pot. Was I accidentally a GTO wizard here, or was this a total donkey play? Comment below. I'm under the gun with pocket 8s, my favorite hand. I open to $10 and it folds to the small blind, who 3-bets to $50. Villain is an older guy who doesn't 3-bet too much, so this is a bit worrisome. The big blind folds, and given that we're both pretty deep at this point, I think I can call here in position. I put in the call and we go to a flop. Queen, Jack, 9, 2 diamonds. All I have is a gut shot to a bad straight, but the small blind now checks. I don't think he's trapping with queens or jacks, so he either has aces or kings that's scared to bet on this board, or he has ace-king. I decide to put him on ace-king and bet $40 into 100. He doesn't seem thrilled about it, but he calls. The turn is the 9 of spades. He checks, and here I think I have to check back. I have some showdown value against ace-high, but he also has overpairs, which I'm never getting to fold. But I decide to put him on ace-king again, and make a super thin value slash protection slash bluff thingamy, and bet $100. He calls once again, which I don't like seeing. But maybe he just has ace-king and it will go check-check on the river and I'll win. Well, the river comes the 7 of diamonds, completing the flush. It seems pretty irrelevant as I don't think either of us have many flushes as played. He would most likely bet the nut flush draw on the flop, and I probably wouldn't bet flop in turn with a flush draw. So when he checked, I just check back and hope I'm up against ace-king. Unfortunately, the small blind flips over pocket kings, making me feel like a complete idiot and costing me almost $200 total. In this one, under the gun opens to $15 and there are 3 callers. I'm in the small blind and look down at king jack offsuit. And I'm feeling pretty frisky, so I choose the high variance route and 3-bet to $100. Big blind folds, and the under the gun immediately starts talking, saying he has a good hand, blah blah blah. We both had about $300 to start the hand, so I'm expecting him to either go all in or fold. But instead he calls, which I hate. But the flop comes down jack 8-6, 2 spades. I flop top pair with a backdoor flush draw. Now, with only a pot-sized bet left, I think the only play is to jam and pray he doesn't have an overpair. I go all in, and he snap calls. Well, shit. But he flips over ace-queen of spades. So I'm ahead, but he's the favorite, if that makes any sense. Luckily for me, the turn and river are both bricks, and I drag in a pot over $600, while my opponent sarcastically compliments me on my nice hand. Sometimes you try to punt it all away, and the poker gods just won't let it happen. Unfortunately, after this hand, I go through a slow bleeding due to card death and losing a lot of small pots. I think I picked up 12 pocket pairs during this session and only won with 2 of them. So I ended up booking a loss of $183 on the night. So it's been a few days since you last saw me. I'm back in sunny Southern California again. And I went back and forth about whether I should make a vlog out of this. I didn't get any table footage and there weren't that many crazy pots or interesting hands to talk about. But I figured I might as well. The first session in Michigan was really short. I probably only played like 20 hands in about an hour, a little less than an hour. I played one hand very poorly, where I made a thin value raise with Jack 10. It was multi-way on the turn. I just had top pair anyway. I lost that one. Then I lost with 10s calling a 3-bet. I'm pretty sure the old guy just had like aces or something. Lost another, I don't know, 50 on that. So I was down about 100 and then luckily made it all back when I had the nut flush draw, got it all in. First a couple players, banked an ace. So I ended up winning a little bit for that session. Then my Omaha session, not pot limit Omaha, but no limit hold'em in Omaha, Nebraska. That started off with a bang, sort of. I had pocket eights my very first hand, flopped a set, and then the turn brought forward to a straight, and I had to check fold on the river. I went through a lot of card death. I probably played for like 4 hours at least, maybe 5. And yeah, just didn't pick up that many hands. I had a few dumb bluffs, so I lost some money that way. I tried to punt it all off with King Jack, but I got bailed out by the deck, so I was actually winning for the session. I was probably up like $50 or $100, and then the last hour or two was just more bleeding, losing small pots here and there. funny enough, my friend actually table changed so he could be at my table, and he sits down on my direct right, and I can't win a hand against him. I have position on him, and I think I went like 0 for 6 or something on a hands played against him. I had him beat pre-flop, or we were flipping every single time, and I lost, so that was kind of wild. But that's poker. That happens, I guess. So anyway, I ended up losing almost 200 in that session. So overall for the trip, down like 100. You can see the amount right here. But yeah, vacation was great. The poker, not so much. But hopefully now that I'm back here, I'll be playing a lot more. And maybe the next vlog will be from my old stomping grounds out here. So yeah, in the meantime, I hope you guys run good in your own poker games. Try to play well. Try not to punt like me or Rampage. And I'll see you guys later.